This is what's wacky to us. I'm Rick.
I'm Song.
Welcome.
Yes. We here. We got a new show for you guys today. We got some topics we're going to touch on. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about what are we talking about? The kids that's slumming. They want to slum. They come from good families, but they still want to slum. They want to hang with the worst of the worst, do the worst things possible just to upset their parent. I don't know if they're doing it just to upset their parent. They could just be totally stupid, but whatever. So I'm going to get into it. That's what we doing, so.
You know that's what we doing. We're going to talk about how ungrateful these kids are, that they come from good homes, that they have a solid household, they have solid parenting for the most part. But let's not get it twisted. Parenting isn't easy, and parenting never stops. Even when your kids are old, it doesn't stop. I don't care if you birth children, if you raise them, you have stepkids, you raising extended family. There's so many children out here today who think that they have something to prove. This podcast today is born out of what T.I. and Tiny are going through with their son King, who is out here acting the complete fool. And us as parents even go through that with our own kids. You do the best you can with what you have. You teach these kids things. You expose them to shit. You give them a life that prepares them for living, and they just don't want to do any of that. They want to slum. They want to gang bang. They want to hang with the wrong crowd. They want to do shit that is the antithesis of where they come from.
Yeah, man. And, people giving it, like she said, it's come from we seen what's going on with T.I. and his son King. And he's he keeps getting arrested over and over. And it's really for no reason, because he comes from he comes from money. Money ain't everything. You also need guidance and love. But at the same time, there's no need for you to lash out like that. Sometimes he looks like he's high all the time. He's always talking some street stuff. He ain't from the streets. Dude, you wasn't even born. Your parents was on when you was born, So it's really nothing for you to be so angry and try to prove. Embrace what your parents have created for you. They created a great life for you, and you're just not embraced. It's like they name you king, but you acting like a peasant.
Straight up.
You want to hang with the peasants and stuff like that. And we're going, for King going to get some gunshots. He got to get them. You're going to give him some more. Let's give him some more. Because you're an embarrassment to your family. Like we used to tell our kids, when you walk out this house, mind your manners, because you representing this entire family by the way you act. And even we as parents feel, a kid can make you feel like a failure as parents. And I seen it in T.I. face. He's like really hurt. And he's like he said, don't come in my DMs talking all that. Like I haven't talked to my son. I've told my son where this type of behavior is going to lead him to. He's going to go to jail, and I can't save him. So don't come at me like that. And he's, at some point when things like this happen, you start checking yourself like, damn, did I fail? Because I've been in that situation, in that type of situation because of the things my kids do. And you have to absorb everything your kids do. It's kind of like your fault to the world, But I'm going to let you, how you feel about all this?
We talk about this all the time because, we have kids and, you see it in your own kids also. I'd like to think that when we were raising our kids coming up, they didn't have the typical life that we did. They were given a lot more resources and tools than both me and Rick had put together. I had a very estranged relationship with my moms. My grandmother raised me for the most part. I came from a very educated family. My father was a PhD. My mother has a double master's and all this other stuff. But I was not given the tools to follow in that path. Now, did I make a lot of wrong decisions along the way? Some people would say yes. Some people would say no. I did not follow in the footsteps of so-called higher education. However, as I got older, I appreciated education more and did things to learn more and more about the things that interested me. Most recently went to school to learn about, the marijuana and CBD industry. There's always something that you could do to challenge yourself. As a kid, no, I didn't appreciate that I came from an educated family. I had 3 kids by the time I was 21. In some ways, that was a good thing because I got all of that out of the way and could still live my life. But I also know that I disappointed my parents by some of the choices that I made because of the things that they did set me up with. Again, came from a very educated family. My grandparents, great-grandparents, everybody was into higher education. And I'm one of the few that didn't follow in those footsteps. But I see now, as I've gotten older and as an adult, I see how that was a disappointment to my parents. However, at the same time, I wasn't encouraged to go to school. I wasn't taken to visit a college campus. I didn't have those tools to be motivated to go towards higher education. I came to that on my own. But then you see these other kids, like you said, King is out here acting like a peasant. You have 2 families. You have a mother and a father that are both very financially well off. They are a rich family. You know that boy went to private school his whole life. You know that boy has traveled and seen the world where most kids from the Atlanta hood of Southeast Atlanta don't have those same opportunities. And he's out here acting like a peasant, getting arrested, talking like he's like straight up out the Bama hills of the hills have eyes, can't form a proper sentence, always high, calling people bitch ass niggas and all this other foolery. And it's like, that's not you. You don't even come from that. That's not you. Maybe you know that's what your father did back in the day, but that's your father. That's not you at all.
You know, and like I'm the opposite, like with Sonia, like education, like she said her mother, father, PhDs and double masters. I have none of that. My mother ain't have. I don't even know if she graduated high school or whatever she done, but she gave me what she had to give, you know, and a lot of it was street stuff. Like I grew up coming up in the streets and I embraced the streets a lot. And thank God I made it out the streets, you know, went to the military, did a long bid in the military and, you know, changed up, you know, I shift gears, like, and you can't be scared to shift gears. You know, then I wanted education, so I educated myself. I went to school, I educated myself. My kids don't even know how much education I got, actually. They think they do, but they don't even know the type of education I have, like, and I have a lot of it. But, you know, dig deeper into these kids. Like, they don't understand how they could actually make a parent feel guilty, feel like a failure because of their actions. And they'll just keep going, like, you know, you have to keep constantly trying to get them back on track. And, you know, parenting gets tired. Like, you get tired as a parent, like, you know what? I give up. I'm tired. Do you? And sometimes you just have to do that. You have to fall back and let the kids do them. They have to create the life that they want. If they don't want a good life, hey, that's it. I did my job. Because once you know you can feel fulfilled as a parent, don't let these kids beat you down with guilt. Because if you know you gave them more opportunity than you had, your job well done. Job well done. Don't let these kids guilt trip you and to thinking like you failed them when they're actually failing you. Because we never talk about the failure of a kid. Like the kids, like they like to tell a parent everything they do wrong. Hello. You don't have enough time. You didn't give me enough this. I didn't get enough that. But at the same time, once they become an adult, like, do you check in on your parent? Do you give them the time? How many proud moments have you gave your parent where your parent could be like, hey, you know what? I'm proud of that kid, man. That's a good kid. How many of those moments do you give your parent? You don't stop to think about that. All you think about is what you didn't. That's like a self-centered narcissist type thing. Like, all you think about is what I didn't have. I didn't have. It's never like what I can give or what we can do together. It's like always an I. Like you is everything in your life, in your world is about you, you know? And to me, like, my life never really been about me. It's always been about other people. I ain't have that to be self-centered. No, I had to always think about somebody else. Cause like somebody said, she had a certain amount of kids at 21. By the time I was 21, I had like 5 kids. I was 5 kids in at 21. And I tried to the best to be there for all of them. All of them know who I am, you know? So, with that being said, yeah, don't let these kids guilt trip you. And like, I seen it in that dude's face. Like, T.I. just was really sad. Like, yo, man, I talk to him. I do this. I do that. And he's like starting to feel a certain way where he's like, yo, you know what? The world going to teach him because the world is a hell of a teacher. You know?
Harsh.
Yeah.
Mean.
Yeah.
Bully.
Yeah. All that. So I don't know, man. Y'all have to, hopefully this podcast will help some and y'all can chime in and, and give us some pointers on how it's going. Because it's not just us. It's not just T.I. I have friends going through the same thing. And I'm like, what is going on? Why do kids feel so entitled?
And it's more than entitlement because these kids feel like, it's that. They always feel like they're owed something. Like you said, you didn't give me this, you didn't give me that. Oh, when you have multiple children, there's always going to be that one kid that feels like they didn't get something. There's going to be that kid who felt like you loved another sibling more than them when that's not the case. I go through that with my own sons. I get blamed for giving more attention to the one that was always off path versus the one that knew better. And you're only trying to get the one who is acting out back on the right path. And it has nothing to do with neglect. You want all of your children to succeed. You want all of your children to do well in life. You want all of your children to be better than you. And then when you see that that's not the case, you start doubting your own self. But I know for a fact that I exposed my kids to things that none of their other friends were exposed to. Our home, back in the day, when me and Rick were together as a family, we used to have all the kids, their friends, friends, nieces, nephews, little cousins. Our house was known for, we took the kids everywhere. We used to take the kids to the beach, amusement parks. We used to do these big old trips with all of the kids and as a community and exposing them to things off the block. You don't get no credit for that. You don't get no thanks for that. Because here's the other thing. Kids always be like, well, you're supposed to take care of me. No, I'm not supposed to do anything except stay black and die and pay taxes, roughly. I don't have to take care of anyone. That's why there are adoption agencies and everything else and foster parents, because I don't have to do a good goddamn thing. But if I chose to take care of you, clothe you, feed you, keep a roof over your head, make sure you learn something in this life, teach you things about life, I don't get no credit for that. I don't get no thanks for that. All I get is you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you didn't give me this. But when my kids was stealing money from me, stealing from each other, doing all kinds of bogusness, my kids got me evicted from my home, okay? And they are forgiven because that's what a parent does. My kids have belittled me, told me that I was a terrible mother and all kinds of things. But when you ask them to back that up, they can't because they ate every day. They had a roof over their head. They know their father. They have a good relationship with their father. They have all of these things that I didn't have growing up, but none of that is not taken for granted. All of that is taken for granted because there's this sense of deep-rooted entitlement and there's this sense of you were supposed to give me more and do more, and yet there's no concept of your own struggles, of your own life, of the things that you were doing to provide for these children, to keep a roof over their heads, to keep the refrigerator stocked up, to make sure they were eating every day. You get no thanks for that. You get told that you were supposed to do that, and no, I wasn't supposed to do a goddamn thing. I did it because I'm a decent human being and because I love you unconditionally. I didn't do it because I had to. I did it because I chose to, and that's the thing that parents never get any thanks for, ever.
Yeah, but as you can see, this whole situation touched home.
You're damn skippy.
Yeah, as you see, it must have touched home. But with T.I. and King, and it probably touched home with a lot of people because people would chime in from the outside and be like, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that. And it's at a certain, and his kid is crazy about it. That kid is young. Like, he's still young. But we got older kids that, they don't show the proper gratitude to their parents and stuff like that. I have plenty of friends going through so much with their child. And I can't even call them a child. No, they're not even a child with their adult kids, like not even checking in on them. And you got to realize this too, like to dig deeper. Once you start getting like 50 and over, time is getting shorter and shorter. You know, time is not, you're not gaining anything. You're not gaining any time. You're only losing time every day. And time goes quicker as you get older. And, you know, one day, boom, you're not here no more. And I want to know how those kids will feel, like, just knowing, like, they don't, if you never live without your parents, like me, like, if you never live without a lost parent, you don't know how I feel when you can't just reach out and call, or, you know, hey, maybe, or it may not, you might not feel nothing because because your actions make it feel like you don't really care sometimes to a lot of parents. And, you know, this is stuff that I hear. That's how you make a person feel. And it may not mean nothing to you that person is gone, or it may mean something to you. I don't know. Only you know. And it's like what I this quote that I read, it said, strong men make easy times and weak men make hard times. And I was like, that is life. Because I know a lot of strong men that made easy times for their kids, but I don't think it's going to reciprocate the right way for the next generation of kids, because we're going to have weak men making harder times for the kids. So our grandkids and stuff I feel like everything's going to revert backwards to those hard times, because the world of everything's going on in the world today. Like, if you just look, man, it's just been a really big uptick in like violence, and, you know, and there's a lot of women, like, all I see is women fighting and yelling and a lot of violence. Everybody's is no negotiating. Like, we can't walk away from the violence. Like, just walk away, live another day. It's like it goes from an argument to a gunshot to a stabbing or to a fight or something. It's like nobody wants to walk away from nothing. Like, oh, I might get filmed and seen on social media. I don't know if that's it, but a lot of things is going backwards is what I'm seeing. And I don't know if you guys are seeing it, but that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a lot of things just reverting back to just this. We just becoming like, America's just becoming this real angry world. Like, we're so angry. Like, why are we so angry? Why are the kids so angry that they want to get a gun and shoot up a school or shoot up a public place? And these kids are like 21. Like, where is all of this coming from? You know, and I'm not a theorist, but I don't know. Before the pandemic, I don't think I think all of this happened post-pandemic, like, and during the pandemic. It's something brewed up during the pandemic. That's a little off the subject, but I'm just going to throw that in there because I want to insert that for you to think about. A lot of things happened during this pandemic that wasn't happening before. You know, like, post-pandemic has been horrible. Inflation, you know, everything. Your money ain't worth nothing no more. People don't want to work no more. All of it, man, if you can go down a whole list of things of post-pandemic, you know, everybody, and it's like, I feel like they shoving entertainment in our face more and more and more to keep our minds occupied off of the bigger picture. That's what's brewing for us. Something is brewing, and it ain't nice. It ain't nice, man. I'm telling you, mark my word on this day that something's going on. It's a bigger plan, and it's going down, you know?
And you know, on What's Wacky to Us, we always take a left turn and get back on the route really that we was on. Well, I'm saying, you know, but here's the other thing, though.
It's a part of these kids.
What have you done to make your parents proud? What has King done to make T.I. and Tiny proud of him?
Nothing.
What has your own children done to make you proud?
Nothing.
What do your children do to challenge themselves? What books do your children read? It's facts, though. What have you done to make your parents proud? What do you do to make your parents proud? Several years ago, I told you I had a very volatile relationship with my mother, but that's still my mother, and I will always love and respect her regardless because she gave me this life. She wasn't a perfect mother, but I understand as an adult a lot of things that she was dealing with as a woman now that I know better. Nevertheless, a few years ago, she was in a really bad car accident, and she got hurt seriously. And she lives in Florida with my stepdad. But I made it a point to make time to go see her because you get the perspective of, she might, that could have been so much worse, and I wouldn't have my mother. I lost my dad more than 10 years ago. So if I lost both of them, I would feel that void. So I made it a point to go to Florida to go see my mother because I understand that, like Rick said, we don't have infinite time, and healing that relationship is beneficial to me and my children. It's beneficial to her. And that's something else that these kids don't realize. Healing your existing relationships and bringing the family back together or getting the family united again after something has been usurped is not just a sign of maturity. It is a sign of having good character. It's a sign of having compassion, of having humility. But letting things fester and taking all the subliminal shots via social media and being like a jerk about certain things because you want to punish the parent that you feel needs punishing because you didn't get what you wanted, you do a disservice to yourself. And, you take for granted what you have because you think it's always going to be there, and it's not. Your parents won't always be there. Those holiday dinners that you had the best conversations of your life won't always be there. Those good times and those memories created in childhood will soon fade. So all that stuff that you take for granted, T.I. and Tiny are not perfect. No one is. Nobody is the perfect parent, but you do the best you can with what you have. You love them through and through from your heart and soul. You love them. You provide for them. You do what you can with what you have, and all of that is taken for granted and thrown out the window because these kids want to go gang banging. They want to talk about you like you ain't shit. They want to act like they came from the gutter when they never did. They went to private school. They have private chefs and housekeepers and servants and want to act like, I made it out the bottom. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You ain't never lived in a project. You ain't never lived in a pissy stairway, have an apartment building. You went to private school and you were afforded all of these things to be exposed to, seeing the world, this and that, having a 2-parent household. And you want to be out here acting the blasted fool? For what? Everybody sees through you. Everybody sees through you. Just like Rick said, you take all this shit for granted, and then one day you're going to wake up and wish that you could pick up the phone to call that person that you took for granted, and you can't. And I've been there. When my father passed away, and I thought, in that moment, I got to call my dad, and you can't. That's the shit that really will change your life. That will change your life for real.
Yes. We're going to wrap this up. Give you guys something to think about. We got some wacky news. Sha'Carri Richardson, she just won, and then she just lost. She won. Yeah, I don't know why I always fucking with this girl. It's like, I don't know why, man. I'm sorry, man. But she won and she lost. They was like, oh, she won. Then, like, within a matter of a week, she finished 5th to the Jamaicans again, But that's one wacky news. The other wacky news I got too, man, buy some land because Bill Gates is buying all the land in the whole entire world. He owns 270,000 acres right now that he's controlling. So you guys better get some before Bill Gates buy it all up because he want to control the food population. And, they actually paying farmers not to grow food. See, this is why y'all all into that. Y'all be all into the entertainment and who's Cardi B and all this. Now, I be listening to the world. Y'all listen to the World News Summits and all this stuff, the meeting of the minds, because there's a lot going on. Ain't no conspiracy. This is real stuff. You got AI taking over, artificial intelligence taking over everything. They even showed one, you know what I just seen? A robot went shooting basketball. They trying to replace us with robots for basketball. Then you got, what's that dude? Mika, the AI rapper.
Well, he got signed and released
but
in
how,
under 24 hours.
All right, cool. But what get him the audacity to sign a fake ass rapper that doesn't really exist? You got some white boy using the N-word. Only reason he got dropped because it was an outcry because it was a white boy that created it, and he was using the N-word over and over and over with his AI. And then everybody found out it was a white boy. But if that wouldn't have been found out, they trying to take over the rap. You don't see them doing it with country music. They want to take over the rap because they know the rap is the most influential. It's like mind control. So they want that. So they coming for that too, people. They coming for everything. So beware what wacky news you got, son.
Well, don't fall for Bank of America's okey doke with the no closing costs and no fees for buying a home. Massive gunshots, 50 cal. That's a scheme and a scam. To try to make it seem like they doing stuff for the black and brown community. It's a scheme and a scam. You ain't gonna get shit, and you're gonna wind up paying like some crazy percentage more than the actual mortgage itself. Then we have Joe Biden out here releasing people out of $10,000 of student loan debt, but you got to apply for it and you got to go through a whole bunch of rigmarole rather than him just forgiving it and letting it be. You got to do the paperwork and go through all of the rigmarole with that. So again, more red tape, bureaucratic nonsense and foolery everywhere you look from all of these corporate institutions. And my last wacky news is in the middle of Sutton Place, pretty much in the Upper East Side, some crazy fool in a Mercedes-Benz coupe rammed this dude in an SUV to jack him for $20,000 on the middle of 2nd Avenue in broad daylight. Yo, y'all be careful and be safe out there because you never know who's watching you. And they literally, I'm just saying, niggas stole a Mercedes-Benz coupe and you have but you want to go jack $20,000 from somebody is more than the car. You could have just taken the car to the chop shop and probably gotten double of that. But fools is out here acting crazy. Like Rick said, this post-pandemic foolery has people like losing it. People are just losing it. You in a stolen Mercedes, but jacking someone for $20K in cash.
Because I'm quite sure with the way he hit that car and all the bumpers came on, you did like 20. If that was your car, you did like 20K, over 20K worth of damage to the car. So you're just going to take that bag you stole and get your front end fixed. So that's it for us. We're going to cham on up out of here. And this is what's wacky to us.
Thanks for joining us.